was fired up last night, and now more than 20 hours later, he is still furious. You could just hear the rage and anger in his voice, and Sheriff Chitwood did not mince words about these two teenagers.
This is where the plane landed. This is the parking lot of CentraCare we are in right now. It's just over this way. So these two people were able to climb through that grass, through this parking lot, and walk to the CentraCare, which is around this bend.
But that's a completely different story when those fully vaccinated people step outside. Some people agree with the new guidance, others not so much. Some say they actually unmasked weeks ago, and they're not even vaccinated.
And I want to turn you to this side. You can see there are several signs up that say, "I am a peace warrior." But you also see that there are businesses just like this one boarded up. And the reason for that is because some business owners here in this stretch of downtown Kissimmee are worried that things may turn violent. They want to get prepared for anything that may come their way. But the Kissimmee police chief says he's hoping that this is a peaceful protest. And for what we have been seeing for the last 30 minutes or so, everyone has been very calm.
You can see the rain slicing down and the choppy waters on the bay just behind me. We've seen the water crashing onto that concrete several times, and this area, because of this, is prone to flooding. So businesses out here knew what they could face from this storm, so they got sandbags and set them up. But again, we haven't seen too much flooding here. Timber Creek now joins that running list of schools forced to close again because of COVID-19. We're now 2 months into the school year, and take a look. Already 7 public schools across Central Florida have temporarily shut down because of cases. The 14 cases at Timber Creek are pushing more than 1,000 students and staff out of the classroom and back into their homes as the campus gets cleaned. Take a runner, for example. The longer they train, the better they become, right? They could always run that mile, but with more time and training, that mile becomes easier for them. A similar situation plays out with this virus.
Hola, estamos aquí en Cocoa Beach, es las 5:30 de la tarde y pueden oír esos vientos que están muy fuertes y también pueden ver esas olas agitadas.
Breaking this morning, 2 people are dead and more than 20 people are hurt after a mass shooting at a concert in Miami-Dade County. Police say it happened at a venue on Northwest 186th Street in the Hialeah, Miami Lakes area overnight. Investigators say people were standing outside of the venue when a white SUV pulled up and 3 people got out with assault rifles and began shooting. Police are calling this a targeted act of gun violence. We'll keep you updated as we learn more. Take a look at that street sign. It was not bent out of shape like that prior to this storm. So that just gives you an idea of the damage that was caused here. You can see it with the trees down here, the branches on the floor. You can see drivers just creeping through that high water. And Cassie, when I saw this video last night, I thought, 1, I want to know the record range. Right? Did we break it? And 2, what are Cassie's thoughts on that video? Right?
The causes vary. Dangerous intersections,
Distracted driving, driving impaired, and unfortunately every day we need to prepare for the worst.
National Weather Service says this tornado was 550 yards wide. To put this into perspective, let's talk football. A field is 100 yards long. So essentially, this tornado was the width of 5.5 football fields.
This has been a very loud and vocal crowd.
It's passion, Greg, and this group has been out here since about 6, and now 5 hours later, there are still dozens here. The people in Cuba and the people here in Florida are saying Patria y Vida. You see that phrase right there? And it is a common rallying cry. Patria y Vida translates to homeland and life. The saying originated from a hip-hop song released a few months back by Cuban artists. They wanted to challenge the government, and in the process, they helped spark protests across the island that have now come to Florida against the 62-year communist regime. The sounds of solidarity. Today, hundreds of people gathered, waved Cuban flags, and showed signs of support to stand up for their brothers and sisters on the island.
We need a change right now.
In Cuba, people are fighting for freedom, demanding their God-given rights after communist dictatorship has imprisoned the island for decades.
This is not because of the virus. This is because we're tired of 62 years of dictatorship and communism. We want Cuba free.
A rally at the Sedanos on Cimarron Boulevard in Curry Ford drew in more than 500 people. There were Cubans who fled from the island.
1962. I love
United States, and I am proud I be here. Because another way I'd be dead.
Cuban Americans who were born here in Florida.
It's terrifying, and nobody's too young. Nobody's too young to understand what's going on, and it has to end.
And Americans who just know what is happening in Cuba is not right and has never been right.
It's almost like a strength that everybody has together.
They're calling for the U.S. government to do more.
Send the Marine and clean it up.
But there was undeniable pain from the past. In 1961, the CIA under the JFK administration vowed to push Cuban leader Fidel Castro from power. The Bay of Pigs invasion failed, making Cubans feel the Democrats let them down. So now,
You owe us this. You owe us this, Biden.
that passion poured over onto Cimarron Boulevard. And hundreds blocked traffic for more than 40 minutes. Orlando police were able to clear the street, and those chants for change continued and will continue, people say, until they get what they want.
It's time to take that back. We want our island back. Cuba belongs to all of us, Cuban.
Orlando police tell us they made just one arrest here today. Our chopper was up when that happened. The chief did tell me it was simple. They asked everyone to clear the streets. Everyone did follow that direction, and this one man came back out to Cimarron Boulevard, so they did make that arrest. Now, what's next here? The big question is, what is the answer? Today, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis held a roundtable with Cuban-American leaders down in South Florida to figure out solutions. We have seen blackouts on the island, zero internet access. The government has taken that away from the Cubans. So Governor Ron DeSantis wants to figure out how we can get internet to the island. He said there are companies right here in Central Florida, over on our Space Coast, that are able to do that easily over satellite. We'll see if that happens in the next coming days. Reporting live, I'm Alexa Lorenzo for Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
Patients keep coming, and it seems like there's no end in sight.
Almost 17,000 people are hospitalized with COVID-19 across Florida.
This is certainly the worst surge.
And 95% of those patients are unvaccinated.
I did not get my COVID vaccine. I was careless.
62-year-old Tony Peters has been at UF Health for 10 days now.
You do not want to get COVID.
That sound you hear is a machine pumping, giving her high-flow oxygen, the most they can give.
I got very sick.
And even as she's fighting for each breath,
Please listen to me.
she wanted to share this message.
If anything I can say to encourage you, go today. Get your vaccine. Don't hesitate.
It's something she wishes she had done.
100%. 100%.
UF Health's Dr. Neela Radhakrishnan says almost every coronavirus patient shares that sentiment of sorrow, remorse, regret.
What we get to see as physicians, as healthcare workers, we see the patients, we can hear their regret in that moment. That's not something that maybe everyone in the lay public can see.
Until people like Tony get the courage to share their story to keep someone else from suffering like she is.
Don't be careless. Don't be stupid. I mean, those are harsh words, but your life can depend on it.
Dr. Radhakrishnan says she pleads with all her coronavirus patients that once they get discharged, they go get that vaccine.
Just today, one of my patients told me, "Doctor, if I get out of here, I am going to get that. And I am going to tell everybody I know to get the vaccine."
It's that wrestle for recovery that resonates with them, that finally convinces patients like Tony to get vaccinated.
And as soon as I get out of here and get well enough, straight away, I'll get the vaccine.
The images out of Afghanistan are surreal.
That's the stuff we only see in action movies here in America.
What's playing out is horrifying and heartbreaking, but few understand it better than those who once had boots on the ground there.
My name is Brandon Blackburn. I was a covert CIA counterterrorism officer.
As a target officer, Blackburn identified terrorist networks and determined their vulnerabilities to take them down. He started in the early 2000s and has the memorabilia to show for it.
I was presented that.
For nearly a decade, the Central Florida native worked throughout the Middle East and Southeast Asia, including Iraq and Afghanistan.
Afghanistan is the type of place in the world where you can get drawn in very deep, and once you are drawn in, it's very hard to get out, as we're seeing today.
This chaos came after Afghanistan's president fled the country and the Taliban took control of the palace there. And it's back as it began 2 decades ago, under Taliban rule.
After 20 years, I've learned the hard way that there was never a good time to withdraw U.S. forces.
But now is not the time to do that. This is the prime fighting season in Afghanistan because the ability to move around in the country is at its peak.
Biden acknowledged this all unfolded more quickly than the administration anticipated. The Taliban seized several cities and appear on the verge of a full military takeover.
Does it make you think we're the last 20 years for nothing?
Absolutely. The last few days, for many of us, feels like it's all for nothing.
We watched President Biden's address on Afghanistan with Blackburn. He agreed with some statements.
And he's right about that.
Disagreed with others, saying this turmoil is harder on those who are serving and have served than it is on politicians.
We're the ones that have to look our Afghani counterparts in the eye and say, we are here to help and we're not going anywhere. And that promise has been proven now with one act by this president to be completely empty and vapid.
The president says 6,000 U.S. troops will soon be in the country's capital to evacuate diplomats and civilians. While Blackburn hopes for the safety of everyone in Afghanistan tonight, he also wishes it's a wake-up call for those in the United States.
We are the freest society in the world. We are the greatest country in the world. And anybody who says otherwise needs to talk to the Afghani people right now.
Alexa Lorenzo, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.